Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching John Wick Chapter 4. Now, when it comes to the John Wick movies, I always have the feeling that it can never get any bigger. When it comes to John Wick shooting as many guys in the head as possible, taking out people higher and higher up the food chain on the high table, or when it comes to the overall chaos and destruction getting bigger and bigger. But this is the one time where John Wick goes international, and it's probably the best John Wick movie of the bunch. But it's also definitely the most John Wick of the bunch. Well, let's get to the story, shall we? After the events of Parabellum, John Wick has a mission to take down the High Table and to finally repay his debt, so he can finally live free. But the Marquis of the High Table, played by Bill Skarsgård, isn't a man who's willing to allow him to do that. So as soon as he takes away the Continental from its original manager, played by Ian McShane, he decides to put another bounty on John Wick, and he has to duel the Marquis in single combat by joining a crime family and ultimately facing off with several rivals, including a blind assassin named Kane, who's sent after John Wick, or else his daughter will die. Kane is played by Donnie Yen, so thankfully his fighting skills were put to good use, but I could say that about most of the cast, from the tracker, played by Shamir Anderson, to one of John Wick's friends in Japan, played by Hiroyuki Sanada. It's very clear that the actors were chosen based on their prowess when it comes to fighting. And even Rina Sawayama, who plays the man's daughter Akira, gets to have some chances to show off what she can do. Now, when it comes to the John Wick movies, the stories are usually pretty straightforward, and usually the biggest point of contention is the action, and thankfully the action is the best the series has ever been, especially since so many of the sequences go on for very long periods of time, and none of them ever get boring. This film is 2 hours and 49 minutes, and yet it feels like just 2 hours, because there are so many kills, there are so many well choreographed scenes, and there are so many set pieces, such as on a flight of stairs, inside the Continental in Osaka, there's one inside of a German nightclub, there's one involving a poker game. It feels like any way that the directors and the actors could think of to have people kill each other in cool ways were used in this film, to the point where I really don't know how any other movies are going to top this one. And yeah, the action just feels so much better, mainly because CG is only used when it's absolutely necessary. Mostly it's a ton of physicality, a ton of well choreographed fights, and even a lot of moments involving characters that you wouldn't think would make for effective combatants, like Donnie Yen's Kane. Yes, he's blind, but he uses a lot of tricks to be able to hear his way through most of these fights, and having his cane act as a sword is a stroke of genius as well. And Shamir Anderson's tracker, he's pretty compelling as well, not only when it comes to his own stakes in the story, but also when it comes to his relationship with his dog. John Wick and dogs have always gone hand in hand, but this time it's someone else who has a dog, and someone who uses that dog very well when it comes to taking out faraway enemies or humiliating ones who personally wronged him. On top of that, it feels like this film kind of feels like the one that feels like a natural stopping point to John Wick's journey. If you see the film, you'll know what I mean. And basically, it feels like it's the culmination of everything that the John Wick series has gone through in the past decade, to the point where I'm wondering where they plan to go with this. I mean, yes, they have the ballerina film, but I have no idea if that one's going to be a side story, or if it's going to lead to its own series, especially since I think others like Kane and Tracker could have their own stories told as well. But as far as this one goes, it's the quintessential example of how to make an effective action film, especially in nowadays when these kinds of practical films are a thing of the past. I don't have really any negatives, considering that even the length of the film, it makes total sense. That's why I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 4 a 10 out of 10, the best of the year so far, and I'll see you next time.